Hey everybody, Red here from an upward angle. Wait, downward. It's this angle because the lower I go down, the more I hate myself. Anyway, what's up? So if you're wondering, my hero, Dr. Stone. It's gonna happen. Scheduling just got crazy this week. Going forward, just always assume if it hasn't happened yet. Oh yes, I know my hair's shitty. If it hasn't happened yet, if like there's a week where it's like, hey, where's the review? Just assume that we'll restart it next week. Sometimes we just have to miss some videos, and it just kind of happened that way this time. So yeah, look for those Monday-ish. For now, enjoy JoJo. I would try to do a pose, but I'm a fat fuck. Oh my god!
Ow!
It's back.
Yep.
I'm so sorry. After
Ow!
What do you mean, ow?
My ear.
Really?
Yes.
After, okay, well, this will be the seductive podcast. Then. After 3 to 4 comments, but like over and over again on different
3 to 4 comments.
3 to 4 whole comments. Listen, that's a big deal when we don't get those like, where's this? When's this coming?
No, yeah, I'm aware.
I was gonna say it's either 3 different people or one very persistent person with 3 different accounts. But it's back.
Gotta appreciate them, though.
No, I appreciate it for sure. It's just funny. It's almost flattering because we've never really had people being like, "Bring it back."
We need this.
So this is Andrew.
Hi.
Here he is again. I brought him back from the ether. Why does he look so short? In the, I guess you are shorter than me. But either way, I'm not.
Well, no, duh.
Yeah, but like that seems shorter than usual.
Oh, you're looking at the fucking profile?
Yes, not in real life.
I mean, well, duh, you're a tall guy.
Fine. Let's, I'm going to give you some updates on how we're going to do this moving forward. So we were getting a little just burnt out of the whole every 10 chapters do a video. Every 10 chapters. It just didn't work out.
And with our scheduling and plans, too, it didn't really go accordingly.
So what we're going to do now is just kind of film a video when it feels appropriate, right? So like you're reading through JoJo, and then a big fucking thing happens, and it's like, okay, now's a good time because we have enough shit to talk about, right? So instead of doing like 10 to 20, 20 to 30, now it's just going to be like, this chunk, and what this is our last video, I believe, was 31 to 50. We have since finished the part. So that's 100 chapters.
Yeah, we
so
have.
This is going to be 50 to the fucking end. We just finished it. Our minds are blown, and this is going to be like probably around an hour-long extravaganza of just talking about JoJo Part 6, the second half of it, and how that shit went. And moving forward, Part 7, like, that's just how we're going to do it. It'll, like, we'll read until we're like, okay, we can probably have, like, a little conversation about it, and then boom, and then it'll just come out in chunks like that. So, yeah. Andrew, what would you like to start with?
What should we start with?
So no particular order. We'll just start with the wackiest shit.
Right. So, is that what you're talking about? That.
I mean, there's a lot of that's. I'm going to start with, I know some people fucking say, oh, no, it's not, Part 7 isn't, directly from what Pucci did. Yeah, that's just a dumb fan theory. I like it, and I'm sticking with it. So, like, essentially how I understood what Pucci did was he started accelerating time to the point where you can literally attain heaven, reset the universe. His goal... And it makes so much sense, too, because since the very beginning, Pucci, whenever he got stressed, he'd start counting prime numbers. And what do we know about prime numbers? They're predictable. You know exactly what they are. They're the same. They stay the same. And
that's what he wanted.
That
he
was
wanted
his
something
happiness.
Predictable.
So, like, his stress was all about, like, fate. We saw his flashback with so much to go through. His flashback with fucking Weather Report and how that's his brother. And it's like...
That threw me for a loop.
He got an obsession with fate. And, like, what causes what. Why, I just want to make sure we're at the same distance, what causes what, and why certain things happen. Obviously just his brother and them getting separated because this mother stole a baby because her baby died. And then his sister started dating his brother, and then the incest, and then he had to break them up because that's not good.
Although, him breaking them up
caused more shit because it was a KKK dude. It was like, and like, I love that because that gave him this like crazy obsession with fate and why shit happens. So it makes so much sense, his motive, like to why he wanted to create this universe where it's like, okay, not only, because one, this is a real theory, right? Like the universe will eventually die of a heat death. It'll collapse back in on itself, but then it will explode again, a new Big Bang per se. That's at least the scientific theory. And but Araki kind of takes that and puts a little JoJo spin on it, where his power, it was accelerating time, but not affecting the biological life.
Right. It was affecting clothes. It was affecting
tears, saliva. It was just not them themselves. So it was fucking people up, and you got to see how it like fucked their lives up. And
then as soon as it got over with, people were like, "Oh,
this seems familiar."
Yeah, I was about to slip on something. Why would I have that thought? They could see what was going to happen to them through like deja vu every couple of seconds.
Yeah, and that was Pucci was like, this is perfect. Humanity will be better now. Everything, and like to an extent, I kind of get where he's coming from.
Like at the same time, you're living the same thing over and over again.
Well, I don't know if he wanted it to be in a perpetual loop. I think his perspective on it was like, because like with any idea,
knows everything now.
With any idea,
everyone knows what's going to happen to them.
For sure. With any idea, there's good and bad, right? So, like, let's go to the extreme here. Like, let's say he resetted this back in, like, the 1800s or whatever, and then we get to, like, 1940 or whatever, and Hitler shit's happening. People would be like, I don't know, that guy, I get a bad vibe about that guy. You know, like,
something's gonna happen.
So shit like that would probably be averted,
right?
Because of what he's done here, right?
Yep.
But then again, there is something to be said about how you're kind of ruining all joy in life by getting rid of the unpredictability of it.
It's like getting a present. Like, oh, I already know what this is.
Well, yeah, it's like, you learn this as a kid if you ever like snuck in and like saw your gifts before. Like, you know, I would like. I remember one time.
I guess I can't honestly. Don't think I've done that.
I had a moment where I tricked my mom because she's I love her. She's not the brightest. I was doing like wordplay games where I was like, because she had the present in the trunk, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, you know, as long as it's not this in the trunk. And she's like, oh, it's not. And I was like, okay, I've eliminated that. I just, through process of elimination, I was pretty sure what it was. But then on Christmas, I was like, wait a minute. That wasn't as fun because I knew what it was. What the
hold on now.
Yeah, I fucked myself. But so Pucci and his goal and everything with that was crazy because I love those like things in fiction where it's just affecting like the world. It's almost like I watched a thing on H.P. Lovecraft and like how he did like monsters and stuff, and he liked to take an approach of like the ununderstandable, like supernatural to the point where it's like, clearly this is like some alien or god shit happening, right? And like,
where if you look at it, you'll just fucking go insane.
Yeah, out of pure like what the fuck. And like the way Araki does,
because you can't comprehend it. That's the thing.
Yes, and like
you're trying to comprehend it, and then that's what just makes you insane.
Entire final battle was that. Like we have Pucci becoming the center of gravity of everything.
That was
so like they're fighting and like it's hard to even fathom because just in like this
he could just project anyone anywhere because of his gravity. He became the center of gravity, and
so they're climbing up the road.
Wide,
it was like 1.8 miles or something. Yeah. And like so they're climbing up like these fixtures, like the signs on the road and stuff, because like the ground is now sideways, and it's and it's just mind-blowing. So Pucci, I say overall as a villain, where do you place him in the JoJo chronology? Because like that's just interesting. Like in terms of like,
would we be able to like put him higher than Dio? Well,
I like him better than Dio.
Dio kind of like put everything into place, though.
It's true. I mean, Dio's
like the base of.
But as a character, he's just kind of
JoJo. Correct.
Yeah.
But Pucci was
fucking Dio. He really did. He really did put everything. Now, here's what's interesting.
Would he be above Kira?
Pucci? That's tough.
Because Kira wanted a simple life. Pucci wanted a total understanding.
I'm gonna say I like Kira more because I relate to Kira more.
Okay.
But Pucci is like really interesting.
Yes.
But I think if I were to rank my favorite JoJo villains, it would be Kira first.
Okay.
Pucci'd probably be number 2 for me.
And then Dio.
I'm trying to think if I like Cars or Dio better. They're probably like tied to me.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
And then Diavolo. So see, Diavolo is interesting. Yeah. Everyone forgets about. Okay. Here's the thing about Diavolo. Diavolo sucks. Doppio is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was watching part 5 with Andrew, I was like, "Dopey, this guy's amazing. I'm gonna love this villain. He's coming up on like Kira levels." And then Diavolo took over, and I was like, "Boo! You made him boring."
And then he died.
Doppio was the interesting part. Yeah, so no, Diavolo is the worst villain in JoJo. Doppio, though, he's like probably like 3rd place if I were ranking him. I love me some Doppio. Fair. The doodle.
So it'd go Kira, Pucci,
Doppio, Dio, Cars, Diavolo.
I can get behind that. That's a fair. Yeah. That's a fair thing.
Yeah. And so I hear now. Well, we'll save predictions for Steel Ball Run at the end, but I hear the villain for that one is fucking amazing. But literally all I know is that his name is Funny Valentine, and everyone fucking loves him. That's all I know. But anyway, continuing on with this, like at the end, it seems like essentially what's happening, because it really ends abruptly. Yeah. It's like
it looks like it started all the way to the beginning of Jolene and Jotaro meeting up again.
Yeah,
But what was
Emporio. Baseball kid.
Yeah. He meets up with Pucci, who is still kind of damaged from the last battle before the time reset.
Yeah.
And
he just gives him this old talk about how like this is better because you can know shit, and you see guards like, oh, don't trip on that, and then he knows he's gonna trip on that, and everyone knows everything. It's like so I kind of get where he's coming from. I think he sees it as like this is like the next level of human consciousness where we're all more aware of each other and around and yada yada. And
then after that, Pucci chases after Emporio, I think it's Emporio.
Into his ghost room. Emporio has weather report stand, beats the fuck out of him.
Yep. And actually just
looks like he kills Pucci.
Yeah.
And then basically, but then, see, what I don't get is that he kills Pucci, and then all of a sudden, something happens, and then...
Where he's outside of the prison at a bus stop, where he meets alternate Hermes...
Alternate everybody, basically.
Yeah. Alternate Hermes, alternate Abacchio, or I'm sorry, not Abacchio. Oh my god, I'm thinking part 4. Or in part 5. Honestly,
alternate,
honestly,
and they're dating. And was Jotaro there again?
No, like Jolene.
They were going
to
meet.
Yeah, because Anasui and Jolene were getting married.
Right. So basically what we have now is, because again, and this is a lot of headcanon involved in this, because Araki doesn't really explain fully, but like how I've always understood, like if you ever watched Futurama, and I need to show you this episode, honestly, because I think it'll help you understand this. There's an episode where they invent a time machine, but it can only go forward in time, which actually has some basis in real science, because people that discuss how time travel could work, you could really only ever go forward. There's really no scientific way to go backward. And you can go forward by like fucking with gravity,
right?
But like you cannot go backwards in time. You can slow it, you can speed it up, you cannot go backwards. So they have this time machine. They're only able to go forward. They fuck up, and now they're like, "Fuck, we can't get back to our friends, family, or anything." So they realize, well, eventually, the universe will collapse in on itself, and then it will create a new universe. And at least the logic of Futurama, and it's seemingly the logic of Araki here, is that it will, and even, I'm pretty sure they basically said this in the chapter, like, things will happen mostly the same way, according to fate, yada yada. Yeah. Humanity will rise up in the similar way. And this kind of is like a weirdly nihilistic viewpoint that I've seen before, where it's like, oh, humanity, we try to change shit, but like, it's all this track and we can't change it, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure that I buy into that, but either way, the logic here is that it's going to be similar but slightly different, based on like little butterfly effect things. So essentially, I don't remember the train of thought I was going towards, but essentially how I'm understanding it is we now have this is a different universe than the original one that's now gone so forward that it collapsed in on itself, rebuilt, and now we're here. And my headcanon, at least, is that Steel Ball Run, because I know it takes place in the past, like 1800s or something.
Something.
I know it's like, I don't know, somewhere around there, 1800, 1900, horse riding times, trains, yada yada. My assumption headcanon is that Steel Ball Run takes place in the past in this universe, where things are slightly different, because you saw that they had different names. Yeah. And like, but she still had the star. Like, Joestars still exist. So I assume, I'm gonna watch a bunch of fucking like analyses on the end of part 6, but my assumption
is that Steel Ball Run is going to be taking place in the past, a couple hundred years from this, so that eventually, when we get up to this moment, like this is probably the Steel Ball Run universe, and that's going to be Araki's way to kind of redo part 1, you know, because I know that all I know about the reboots is that like a lot of characters are very similar in name and design, but with slight tweaks.
There are slight tweaks. What was it, like Gyro Zappelli? Yeah,
so he can kind of like almost go back and like, hey, if I could do part 1 again nowadays, but with my current style and what I know, what would I do, right?
Yeah,
because like that's the vibe I get. Because like Rocky's changed so much, he's gotten better with every part. So he's got to look back at part 1 and cringe, you know. So like it's a perfect way for him to just be like, new universe, Jonathan, new universe.
If there's one thing I could change, part 1.
Yeah, I mean he even shits on part 1 in the fucking volume. Like if you read the author comments of like the new volumes, he's like sorry, it sucks.
Yeah, it was my first manga. Here.
Yeah, so like that's just fucking awesome. And I know some people are like, no, and please feel free to put in the comments your thoughts on this. I know I've read some people that think that that's like a dumb headcanon and that's never been confirmed, so it's dumb to think that. I think that's kind of a fun way to look at it, so I kind of like it. But if you have like a hard proof that that's not the case, go ahead and tell me. Or if you believe that that is the case, go ahead and tell me your hard proof there. Other things to talk about, just in no particular order. When they first, because I think the last review we did, they hadn't, the fucking baby, green Dio baby hadn't been born yet either. That whole shit was amazing. One of my favorite parts of this part is when they're chasing that baby, and the power is that they get smaller as they get closer to it, which is the perfect defense.
Their height gets halved, and then halved, and then halved again, and halved again.
And the best part of that is when they jump up and they're trying, like, well, what if we just try to fall on them? And it's like some Ant-Man shit where they're just getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like you can't get to this fuck. It's like it's a perpetual. It's like a what's it called? Like exponential growth. Like eventually, it's just.
Yeah, like
you ever see those graphs where it's like, you know? Yeah.
So like you're just stuck, not even getting closer to what you want to get to.
Yeah, and I mean that is kind of the ultimate defense. And it's just Araki, man. Like I don't understand his brain. Like at some point you feel like he'd run out of ideas, and it's not like he's like perfect. I mean there are some things like the end of every part. I'm starting to see a trend. So like end of part 3. Time stoppy shenanigans. End of part 4, time reversey shenanigans. End of part 5, time skippy shenanigans. End of part 6, time speedy up shenanigans. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's different enough.
It is different
to the point where it does not bother me.
Right.
Because like even like the part of end of part 6 with all the snails and shit happening. It reminded me a lot of the end of part 5 with Requiem, where people's souls were switching. You know, like you start to get a vibe of like what Araki enjoys doing, and he enjoys doing like freaky apocalyptic shit at the end of every part. But like again, it is different enough because like, whereas at the end of part 5, you have them chasing Requiem, people's souls are switching, and they have to do like that blood drippy thing to figure out like, okay, well the timing. At the end of part 6, you got people turning into snails because of rainbows. You got fucking like the blood spikes that you got people removing their eyes, and then of course the gravity shit made it so different because How about we talk about the memory guy, the guy that could dig up memories and they trapped them in the crashing plane? That was cool.
Oh god, that was his power was really interesting because it was just throwing us for a loop everywhere.
Not to mention 4 of Dio's children with random Florida thoughts.
Just they weren't mentally stable either. They were
So we kind of headcanoned that. I mean, not even Araki basically said he probably mated with one of the women that he had kept for food.
For probably each of them, except Giorno.
Yeah, Giorno was like the actual like fling with like. I mean, Giorno's mother was a bitch. We found out in part 5. She was awful. But like that one clearly wasn't one that he was eating. He was probably just chilling in Italy. Like, oh, you what a fine one.
Yeah. As to then he went to
one night
Florida.
stand.
And then he went to Florida. Like, I'm gonna fuck you because you're food.
What's the best place for cattle? Florida. What's the lowest quality human?
Oh Lord.
Listen, some people are trapped in Florida. Here's my rationale. If you live in Florida and you're okay with living in Florida, then you are a low-quality human. But if you're like our artist who lives in Florida and desperately is trying to claw her way out of it, you know you're in that cancerous zone. Leave Florida while you can. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so that guy was able to dig up memories, put people in those memories as well.
So good.
Where he trapped Hermes and Jolene in a crashing or about to crash plane.
A real plane crash, too. We Googled it.
Yeah.
Some of the details were changed, but like there was a plane crash around that time with that story.
Yeah, and then they had to go to the two seats in the very back of the plane in order to survive because there were 2 survivors that survived in that crash.
And then the fucking guy was like, let me just yeet some sick dying children down here. Like, what are you gonna do about that?
Yeah.
Dude, man, like JoJo's is a fucking trip, man.
Let's not forget about the son that could take imaginary.
Oh, the fucking rods.
Oh, that guy too. But I was talking about.
What are you talking about?
Like,
hey, the Disney World, bro. It's been so long. Yeah.
Like, hey, look at this
Kurapika's real
volume.
now.
Yeah, Kurapika's real.
Dude, yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody was a stand that fucked my brain. That was a moment where I was like, when Pinocchio and like Mickey Mouse. Well, we didn't see Mickey Mouse. We heard Mickey Mouse was out.
Him, yeah.
But when Pinocchio.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man.
And like,
Spider-Man was just on a building and someone was trying to meet him.
Spider-Man!
You're real!
Bro, when Pinocchio and Spider-Man and fucking... Who else was there? I'm trying to remember. Oh, the fucking...
The sheep.
And the dwarves, I think, at one point.
Oh, yeah.
And,
who else was in there? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, Vincent Van Gogh's portrait of himself.
Yeah. Like, oh, I killed myself. Therefore, because you see it, it's going to happen to you. It's like, wait.
And the road sign. The road sign guy. Yeah. Any portrayal of a creature,
character like, that is drawn.
That is so weird and meta. And like...
That the only way they could reverse it is by making their own character.
They literally made an OC.
Yeah, they could make an OC to clean this shit up and bring it back to normal.
That's so funny how that worked. Like, and it's funny too, because like that's the argument I always use whenever people are trying to like use Saitama in a death battle. Mm-hmm. It's like he is a parody character.
Yeah,
you realize I could make a fictional character right now that's like he is literally God. He could snap his fingers and you're just gone. Like, you know what I mean? Because I can do that. That's how characters work. Mm-hmm. So like, in a weird way, honestly, I'm just now thinking about this. While that stand was active, they should have just made a character who is like, your one goal is to kill Pucci, and when you snap your fingers, he's dead.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah, honestly, like, if I was Araki, the last page of this manga would have been like, fuck, we could have did that!
Damn it! All this time!
Oh, yeah, like, the funny part is, I'm not even going to be mad about Araki, not forgetting, because, like, even I didn't think of that till just now. Yeah. So, like, I could see them slipping their minds, but, like, yeah, basically what they did was... All right, well, your power is to suck in other fictional characters, so...
And put them back.
Yeah. What was it, like, clean this up, man? Or I don't know what they fucking
did. Clean it up or whatever. And then, because everything went back to normal...
That guy was just like, I just want to die.
Yeah, he just gave up on life because he couldn't do anything else.
It was the ultimate roller coaster. It's like when you think some good shit is coming and then someone's like, no. Like, I have this a lot at work where, like, they're like, oh, hey, we only have 2 trucks today, so you'll be able to have a half day. And they're like, just kidding. Another one came in, and it's like, now I want to die.
Oh, yeah.
Now I want it. But his was like, I'm going from, like, being a fucking convict prisoner, blah, blah, blah. I got this crazy power. I'm king of the world, to just get it.
And, it's back to where I started.
Well. Man. So, I want to talk about... Unless, is there more, like, leading up to it? Because I do want to talk more about, like, Dio and Pucci and their relationship.
I was just going to talk about the other son.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
The Rod son.
Yeah, so we did some Googling.
What was it called? The
Skyfish?
Skyfish.
Yeah, yes. So this is a real phenomenon that people see these in photographs and video, and it's like a ghost hunting thing, right?
Like, you can't see it with the human eye, but you can only see it in photos.
Yeah, and, like, there was apparently, like, a story where... these skydivers or something were filming, and then, like, for 1/16 of a second they showed up. So it's interesting, right? And we looked up real pictures of them, and they do exist. I mean, again, not to say that it's not like shit we've caught and we can capture.
Right, no.
It's like weird particles that appear on the camera, and then it's, you know, like ooh, that's a speck. It's a ghost.
Classified as a UFO somehow.
Right. Well, I imagine. I mean, like. I don't know if you've seen, but like files have come out of all the weird shit. Air Force people have seen.
Yeah.
Like they see
Roswell, New Mexico, of course. You know,
unexplained wacky shit. You know, so the fact that now it's like, yes, in Araki's world, it's like, yes, they exist. This guy's stand is not the creatures; it's just the ability to control them and bend them to your whim.
And they had that weird disease
making you like swell up for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else how they ended up. Yeah, so like they would sap your body heat, which makes sense because that's a very ghost thing to do, you know, like. And essentially, Jolene's solution to this was, I'll set myself on fire.
Because, you know, warm me up. She just beat the shit out of him that way.
Oh, you know, and that makes me think of other Jolene things, like when they were, before he turned into like his stand into like total, sorry about the siren in the background, before he turned his stand into like total god mode like shit, he had Sea Moon, which was the one where you could turn shit inside out. You could basically like remove its center of gravity to make it turn inside out. And the way Jolene got around that was amazing, because she's string, so she could create her body. She could turn parts of her body into Mobius strips, which are shapes that don't have an inside or an outside, so you can't reverse it. And I was like, oh, it's so interesting.
And for people that don't know what Mobius strip is, it is
the infinity symbol.
Yes.
Yeah.
She could turn parts of her body into the infinity symbol, which
so good.
It just, I would not have thought of that at all.
Again, like, I say this every time when I'm talking about JoJo, but like, when you're reading fiction, almost always, no matter how good the series is, you're like, okay, well, I've seen something like this and this. When you read JoJo, you don't see shit. Like, the only exception was the snail shit. I was like, that's kind of like Uzumaki and Junji Ito. Other than that, it's like, no, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that was just...
It's amazing. Anyone, I don't understand where all this part isn't as good as the other parts come from. Fuck off. What the hell are you talking about? I don't
call out.
Yeah, what the hell? The only thing I can see, like, usually the one I hear is people don't like the character, like the main cast as much. Like, they didn't feel like they had like the friendship that the other main cast did.
I mean, I get it. They were
that.
kind of just thrown together, but at
Foo
the same
Fighters
time...
was best girl and then immediately fucking died, it felt like. Rip.
There goes your waifu.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. The cast was fine. But I think the villain was great. I think the beginning and end were great.
Everyone was great.
Mm-hmm. There were some weird fights in the middle there.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you did want to talk about...
yeah, so...
Not to change it up and everything.
Dio, the implications that, like, I want to understand... I need so much more I want to know about, like, how Dio came to this conclusion. Like, Dio, like, why would Dio, okay, is this something that Dio actually wanted, or did he just grow a liking to Pucci and be like, hey, I know you want this, so I'll give you the secret of how, if that's what you want to do, right? I obviously Dio talked to him a lot about fate, and yada yada, and then I guess I don't see the Dio correlation as, like, to why Dio would be interested in something like this. And
why the coordinates for Pucci to be at that specific
Well, that was implied because it had to do with the gravity of New Moon. Right, so, like, how I understood that was the reason his stand changed into
Sea Moon.
No, Sea Moon was the
the other one.
What did he call it? Oh, it was something heaven, like.
Oh, yeah. Made in Heaven.
Yeah. The reason his stand changed to that, like, in order to have that happen, it had to be under the specific moon.
That's right.
Because remember, that place in Florida,
forgot for a second.
It was talking about how that place in Florida, like, the gravity is different because of, like, how it's, like, literally, like, even though that place is at sea level, the water still wouldn't go over it because the gravity was different, which is why they built the rocket launching thing there, because the gravity was ideal, yada yada. So it was kind of like an Indiana Jones-esque prophecy thing where it's like, in order to get the ideal conditions to activate this power, you have to be at this place at this time.
Yeah.
And then so that's what that is. But, like, I just, again, I almost wish I could get, like, 5 more chapters of, like, conversations between Dio and Pucci, and maybe I should go back and reread them. You know,
and more of their relationship too.
Yeah, I just don't understand Dio's because
well, they both wanted to end the Joestars, but
that's
Dio more so than Pucci at the time. But as Pucci kind of realized, like, oh, this is why you're hated so much by Dio and everything. And he was talking about finally ending the Joestar line, but then he started going into wacky fate shit where it's like, actually, so, like, the Kujos are the ones that are going to fucking help me, because even after he pointed out so many people, hey, you're gonna help me on my road fate. Oh, you were in it. Hey, this person, you're able to help me. He kept switching it up.
Well, yeah,
that kind of bugged me a little bit.
You know what? That
he kept taking
to me,
people to...
that shows the flaw of his logic.
Yeah.
Because like he is, I mean,
that's true.
in a very religious, religious priest like kind of way. They're usually the ones, and I say this as a Christian, but like there are people that like won't even fucking budge an inch. Like, how about this little part that doesn't make sense, you know? And he'll be like, ah! Whereas in reality, just try to interpret it a bit differently. But they're so strict and rigid, you know what I mean? For
Pucci, it was absolute.
Pucci was like, fate is always this, and like even like any little change, he would just justify it as like, doesn't matter. Eventually, it'll get back to this, or so like. I think that was just kind of his way of coping, just like the prime number thing. Yeah. But again, the main thing I want to know is Dio, like what... I don't understand Dio's whole role in this. It's implied that this heaven power was a thing that he figured out how to get, or he did have, or something, and then Jotaro took it away somehow because he needed Jotaro's memories to figure it out. There's some gaps here that either I'm too dumb to get, or Araki didn't put in there. So please in the comments if you have a perspective on this, let me know.
I would like to think that, Dio wanted to rule the world, but in the way he wanted it, the way he wanted to perceive it. So I'm wondering, wondering about if it's that kind of thing.
So potentially Dio would have wanted to do this with Pucci. Because, like, I suppose it could be implied that, like, after Dio fucked up Jotaro, like, because let's say part 3, Dio... Obviously, he would have assumed he was going to beat Jotaro, just kill him. So maybe Dio's like, all right, I'm going to kill Jotaro, then I'm going to go back to Pucci, and we're going to work together to get this heaven thing.
Make the world in my image kind of thing.
And then I suppose at that point they achieve heaven. They know exactly what's going to happen, and then they can just rule on top as the gods of that world potentially.
Probably.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's what I would like to think. But...
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, there's a fair amount of headcanon involved, but I think you kind of have to with Araki. He always ends very vaguely. Just like the ending of part 5, it's like, okay, what the fuck happened to Diavolo? And like we got to kind of headcanon about that. And
who knows? Maybe it'll be just explained in fucking part 7, but I doubt that.
No, I doubt it. I think this is just Araki's way of saying like, give me a new universe to toy with, please. Thank you.
I want to redo.
Yeah. Yeah, and the funny part too is like Pucci in a weird way was like one of those villains that like wasn't totally irreprehensible because like I see if Dio and him both wanted that, like we were just talking about, like their reasonings were different. Whereas like Pucci genuinely was like, no, this will make people happier and this will make humanity just better. And then Dio's probably just like, no, I just want to rule over them.
No, they're fucking all cattle.
But like I suppose they were going to come together with like a mutual understanding. Like it reminds me kind of in Hunter x Hunter when Meruem and Netero have a conversation where like they disagree, but like Meruem respects Netero and Netero respects Meruem.
Right.
And so like even Meruem to Netero is like, listen, we still have to have some of these humans be food for us, but we'll pick and choose the good ones to like be able to just live normally. So I would have loved like an AU where we actually see Pucci and Dio kind of work together more, because like their relationship and their goals fascinate me, and like what the process of coming to this conclusion was, and like this goal specifically, and why they wanted to do it.
Yeah, why Pucci was so on board with Dio's idea of a new world kind of thing.
I mean, we get some vibes like so we saw the flashback of Pucci meeting Dio for the first time, and Dio was just holed up in a fucking church because he's like, hey, I can't go out in sunlight, I'm allergic, and Pucci just believed him.
Yeah, Pucci did not hesitate at all. He's okay.
Yeah, and I think Dio immediately respected that because I mean, let's be honest, it's Dio. If he was like, no, so you have to leave, Dio would just kill him.
Yeah.
So
or seduced him.
Oh, hey, I think he did that already. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think he has this weird respect for Pucci. Obviously, Pucci starts to kind of worship Dio as like a god, which is probably sacrilege.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I get their relationship. I get he kind of became an inspiration for Pucci, and then when Jotaro killed him, it makes sense where he goes from there. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I mean, I get his villain. I get him as a villain. I love his obsession with like order and knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I just love those villains that are like, I want to change the world because I think it'll be better for everyone, but it's just my own problems, right? So it's like for me,
it's what I want.
It's like that childhood. Like I have little dumb things that people don't get. Like I hate semi-trucks. I think they're very annoying. They only cause me stress on the road. They've always fucking almost like turned into me. They always beep at me because I'm off to the side of them. So I've had moments where I'm like, if I could just eradicate every fucking semi-truck, like, fuck semi-trucks. But then think about the unintended consequences. Mm-hmm. If I was able to infinity gauntlet away semi-trucks, people wouldn't have food. People would, we wouldn't be able to deliver shit. Yeah. That's the vibe I get with Pucci. He's got this like, well, the world will be better if it's like this, and I fuck what anyone else thinks. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I love villains like that because it's a lot of times we have our dumb little thoughts like that. I'm sure you had some dumb thought about world should be like this. Mm-hmm. But anyone that has absolute power, if you have the power to make that change, then there'd be unintended consequences. Yeah, that's kind of why one of my favorite tropes in fiction is like really powerful children, because like Elf and Liad or Lead, I don't know how you pronounce it, but like when these like 2-year-olds have the power to rip apart their parents and they have a fucking temper tantrum, it's terrifying because they don't know the power they wield. So yeah, I love that shit. Any more thoughts for you?
No, I think we pretty much.
I want to end off this video on predictions and thoughts leading into Steel Ball Run. Now, I'll start, and then I feel like I've done most of the talking. I feel bad. I want to give you some time. No. So with Steel Ball Run, and again, we're gonna do videos on it. It's just gonna be in chunks as we feel like recording. So keep an eye out for that. Chunks. Now, all I know about it, and then Andrew can tell you, all I know about it is that people hype it up to be the best part of JoJo. Mm-hmm. People hype up Funny Valentine to be the best villain of JoJo. I know neither of what I don't know what Funny Valentine does. I don't know anything about him. I know it takes place in the past. Right. I know its
names are changed up.
Yep, and I know because Andrew apparently knows there's dinosaurs involved.
Apparently, there are dinosaurs and
I was like, what?
And horseback riding involved.
Yeah, that's all we know, right? Yeah. So I mean, I'm very much looking forward to Steel Ball Run. Yeah, I've heard nothing but hype about it.
It's gonna be very different from what we're gonna be used to already.
And I know it's his longest part he's ever made too. Like, you thought, like, this shit was long, part 5 was long, part 4 was long. It's, like, I think at least, like, I think it's maybe almost double.
Dope.
I'm trying to remember, because I know, I looked at one point, it was, like, I think part 5 or something was, like, 18 volumes, and this one's, like, coming up on upper 20s. I don't know. I'm probably just pulling those numbers out of my ass, but it's definitely, like, a good chunk of volumes more. And I know it's his longest part he's ever made. And I hear that, like, the characters are really well done, and it's just, like, Araki just going in, and I'm like, wow, it's just I'm very excited. I'm trying to think of what else we can say. Yeah. I guess there's not a lot of predictions to be made because it's a whole new part. You're completely resetting, even more than before.
I'm just curious as to what the goal will be, what like the end result of part 7 is. Like what's the Joestar looking for or fighting for or on an adventure for. That's why he's trying to go for.
I watched a Mother's Basement video where he was talking about how different each part was. Okay. And he was talking about how, part 4 is a slice of life horror, part 4 is a murder mystery, part 5 is a gangster flick, part 6 is a prison break. And he said part 7 was a kind of like an around the world in 80 days style like race.
Okay.
So that's all I know is that they're like racing around the world or like going somewhere. So it's gonna be from the vibe I'm getting. It's gonna be a lot more like part 3 where they're traveling, which I know you like.
I feel like it's gonna be like Rat Race.
Have you seen that? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's all we really can say. I'm very much looking forward to it. I've heard nothing but hype about it, and I loved part 6. I thought it was just a fucking wild ride the whole way.
It was really fun. It was really fun. It was insane and mind-boggling. Mm-hmm. And it's really up there. I enjoyed it.
And going forward, it's not going to be like this where we do like half a series in one video. Like but it's also not going to be every 10 chapters either. It's going to be just kind of when we feel like it. We're going to try to do them more regularly. Probably like anywhere.
More relaxed.
Yeah, just kind of like, okay, well, this one could be, if we read the first 5 chapters and it's like, oh, wow, we really want to talk, we might do it there. But then if the next 25, we don't want to talk until, it's just kind of when we feel up to it, because it was kind of breaking the flow up when we had to stop every 10 chapters to do a video, because a lot of times we want to binge, Yeah. So probably, honestly, it'll probably just be whenever we hang out, however many chapters we read that time, and then we do a video. Yeah. So yeah, good shit. Good. I love it, and look out for our Steel Ball Run videos, because I'm well.
Right. Peace.